Welcome to a new episode of our leadership video series, where we interview leaders who are shaping the future of work through culture, strategy, and people-first leadership. Today, we're excited to feature Jamie Rivero, Human Resources Director at MYCO Mechanical, Inc., known for leading global transformation and aligning human capital strategies with real business impact. Jamie brings a powerful mix of empathy, resilience, and operational excellence to every role she takes on. And in this conversation, she shares what it truly means to lead through change, inspire trust, and build organizations that thrive. You describe yourself as a people-first leader who drives results. What do you do day to day to keep that balance between empathy and accountability?
So, in terms of being a people first leader, I think it's important to build relationships with the people on your team. I've always found that people will work harder for people that they value and respect versus people that they feel like their leaders don't care about them or don't value them. Always have clarity in terms of deadlines and also being consistent. One of the things that a lot of my direct reports over the years will probably share is the fact that I do expect a lot and I expect a high level of, performance from my employees, but I'm also very fair and consistent across the board, which is something that I think that they really value. But I'm also human. I understand things happen and I'm very willing to work with my team and figure things out. And I think that people appreciate the fact that not only can I hold myself to a very professional level, but I'm also a human at the end of the day. And I'm very relatable to a lot of the people that I've worked with over the years, which I think really goes a long way.
How do you define influence as a leader, and how do you build it across functions and levels within an organization?
So, defining influence is, I think, first and foremost, getting people to buy into what you're saying. And I think that that really starts with building trust. A lot of times, when you are making a lot of big changes, there's a lot of people who are very resistant to change, very hesitant to change. And what I've learned is really making sure that I'm communicating the why in terms of why we need to change, but also the why in terms of what are the consequences if we don't change. Having like small wins and showing people that there is benefits to what we're doing, I feel like goes a long way. And also answering people's questions. Like, I think oftentimes sometimes leaders are like, this is what we're doing, and they're not interested in getting people's thoughts and trying to flush certain things out. And one of the things that I've always tried to prioritize is I always want to make sure that I'm fully communicating, but that I'm also answering people's questions. And also, I might not have the answers to everything. And I think people appreciate that authenticity and honesty. You're never going to be able to fully scope something out. Being honest and saying, you know what, like, I hear where you're coming from. We're going to go through this, we'll figure it out, goes a long way, as opposed to just kind of telling people, I have it all figured out and, that it is what it is kind of thing.
As someone recognized for driving transformation, what's one people related change initiative you're especially proud of, and what leadership mindsets made it successful?
Years ago, in one of the companies I was working in, we actually just made the decision to shut down our China operations. And that was a huge undertaking in terms of, we had positions there. So we were relocating some of the positions back to the US. There was a ton of analysis that needed to be done. And it's not very easy to just, shut down operations and then move on. There were so many moving parts. Even though I was involved in it heavily from a people and operations standpoint, I had to work across so many different areas of our business to ensure that we were asking the right types of questions. We were fully preparing ourselves for this change because it could have been a gigantic disruption to the business had it not go off very smooth as it ended up doing. But we kind of went into it not knowing exactly what was going to unravel as we shut these operations down. And it was a huge, I think we probably spent over a year on this and really trying to methodically go through and make sure that we were taking into account everything, because there, like I said, there's a lot of moving parts when shut down operations in a country and then try to relocate those operations back to, the United States or whatever country that you're working in. And I think, obviously communication went a long way. I think being able to ask the right types of questions and getting so many different leaders involved in different areas. That way we were able to fully understand everything that we needed to do. And I know there were some hiccups along the way, but nothing that we couldn't quickly, pivot and roll with.
What advice would you give to leaders looking to create cultures that not only perform, but also endure through transitions and growth phases?
Culture, first and foremost, is really important. And I think a lot of leaders say it's important, but then when you look at their actions, it doesn't seem like it's very important. You need to hire the right types of people, trust them, let them make mistakes, let them grow. I mean, obviously, you're not going to let them make huge mistakes, but I think part of that growth process is allowing your people to really kind of experiment and, take on projects, and you have that opportunity to mentor them. I think it's really important. I think also staying true to your mission and core values. Everything needs to align to them. And oftentimes when I see companies steer away from their mission and core values or doing certain things that don't align with them, and then they're, wondering, why am I not getting the results, or why do I not have the right people? I think that that is a huge piece that needs to be looked at. And I think when you kind of blend them all together and everything kind of aligns up to the top, that's when you get that perfect recipe in terms of driving that culture, not only with your current employees, but also attracting and building that talent brand.
What role does resilience play in leadership, especially when guiding teams through large scale change or uncertainty?
I think I probably speak for a lot of leaders right now. The last couple years have been very interesting in terms of there's been tons and tons of change, both from a technology perspective, market economic perspective. A lot of leaders have had to adapt very quickly, pivot, kind of roll with the punches that a lot of companies have been dealt over the last couple years. Companies that are very successful are the ones that have leadership that can quickly pivot and are very open and embracing the changes. And I think the companies that have struggled or have not been successful are the ones that are kind of still set in, this is the way we operate. This is the way we've operated for the last 10 to 15 years. And they're not getting that success.